Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I think this movie's an absolute classic.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss The Sixth Sense, which released in 1999 from writer, director M. Night Shyamalan. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Bruce Willis's character, Dr. Malcolm Crowe. He is taken on the case of Cole Sear, played by Haley Joel Osment, who is having some issues as a small child. Malcolm is taking his time to investigate what issues are plaguing Cole and starts to uncover that Cole can see things that others can't see. Are they really there? Are they all just in Cole's head? Or is Malcolm seeing another side of the world?
I see dead people.
Well, we're really to begin with The Sixth Sense. I think this is a film that almost everyone on the planet has probably already seen.
Yeah.
You know, this film was nominated for 6 Academy Awards.
Ooh, nice.
Was the second highest grossing film of 1999. Of course, it lost out to Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
But then in the year 2000, The Sixth Sense went on to become the highest home rental statistic.
Yeah.
Everyone was renting Sixth Sense and then renting it a second time just to rewatch it, going, oh my
Rewatch
God,
it,
did you
yeah.
believe what happened at the end? And trying not to spoil it for anybody. I mean, then anyone who hasn't seen this film probably also knows the ending of this film.
Yep.
That's how much this film has kind of cemented itself now in pop culture.
Yes.
It's a miracle, really. Because especially considering it's a horror film, and horror films, you know, certain films have a legacy, and it's very rare that horror films will even be acknowledged by the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
I think it was Jaws in 1975, which was one of the highest grossing horror films, and then The Sixth Sense would be the one to take that spot as the highest grossing horror movie.
Wow.
And it held that spot all the way up, I think, until 2016 with Stephen King's It remake, or
Nice.
theatrical version. So yeah, The Sixth Sense had that top spot as the highest rated or highest grossing horror movie for quite some time. And you know, we love Bruce Willis, and it's been kind of strange watching Haley Joel Osment kind of grow up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Sixth Sense.
Man, like you said, where to start with this movie? I think this movie actually birthed my Wikipedia obsession.
Really?
And I think it's because when this movie came out, it just became the talking point. Everybody was talking about that twist ending. Spoilers, there's a twist ending. And it just sent M. Night onto this
Trajectory.
Trajectory into space that, like, he would bring out another film, and everyone's just like, oh, has it got a twist ending? I bet I know what the twist ending is. This is what this is. And it became his trademark in film, didn't it?
It kind of still is.
It still is, but that's what I always loved about The Sixth Sense, was this movie came out of nowhere. This director came out of nowhere, and it blew up everything. Like you said, 1999 was just the year of The Sixth Sense. 2000 was the year of The Sixth Sense. And Bruce Willis, his career has been up and down, but when he hits those highs, my God, does he hit those highs? He can hit a few real lows, but then you come across one of his high points, which The Sixth Sense, I've got to say, is one of them. This movie is so old, Bruce Willis still has hair.
It's one of them.
It's one of them.
Apparently Bruce Willis wasn't even originally going to be in the film, but although the script, M. Night said that he wrote the script with Bruce in mind.
Yeah.
But because Bruce had some issues on another film project, the director got fired, the film got shut down, and so Bruce Willis actually owed Disney, I think it was 2 movies, and at a severe pay cut.
Wow.
But he, of course, accepted the script for The Sixth Sense and took that pay cut, and yeah, like... You can't help but not... You always think of Bruce Willis when you think of The Sixth Sense. It's like one of your first things, because he is just a beloved megastar, really.
Well, that and Haley Joel Osment, who at the time was on a trajectory of being like one of those super
prodigy actors, because he is so naturally good in this as well.
I mean, I'd seen him in Bogus before I'd seen this.
Okay.
With, I think it's Gerard Depardieu, and he plays like an imaginary friend, which is kind of ironic. That, Haley Joel Osment would go into another film where he's talking to somebody who may or may not be there. And like he did a couple of films after this, and then he just dropped off the radar.
Yeah.
Like this was his movie. This was his moment. Everybody would come up to him and be like, "Do you see dead people? Do you see dead people?" It was just
it's in the 100 movie quotes of all time, isn't
Yeah,
it? And I
totally.
think this film is also in the 1,000 films to see before you die.
Yeah.
It's one of them.
and Toni Collette. I mean, absolutely love this actress. I think she's come from humble beginnings with Muriel's Wedding,
Right.
to then hitting this huge acting credit in The Sixth Sense. I love the fact that obviously from this she would then go on to Hereditary.
Well, Krampus first,
know,
then
and
Hereditary.
Krampus.
So she's become a bit of a scream queen.
A scream queen,
I love
yeah.
that Toni Collette also said that when she was making this film, she thought it was a drama. It wasn't until she saw the finished film she went, "It's a horror movie!" Yeah.
I got massive vibes like she was kind of paying homage to the mum from The Exorcist.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this,
yeah.
like this mum character whose child is dealing with these supernatural events. She can't control it, or she doesn't want to believe it, but she can't help it. The evidence is there.
She doesn't know whether her son's being bullied or I mean, let's go to the beginning, shall we? Should we go right to the beginning?
Yeah.
Because this is a pretty important scene that sets up the whole movie, where we are introduced to Malcolm Crowe, Bruce Willis, and his wife, and he's coming back after winning this award
Yeah.
from the mayor. He's a child psychologist. Now, in the original script, he was actually a crime scene photographer.
Oh, right.
But if you look at the film, you're like, how would that work?
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
Yeah, it turns out that he's a child psychologist. And I think it works better for the script as well, and for the film. And Anna, Malcolm's wife, notices a shadow moving and realizes that somebody's broken into the house and is in the bathroom. And it's a very young-looking Donnie Wahlberg, who lost, I think, like 43 pounds for this role.
Yeah.
So he looks a little bit emaciated. And I have to say, Donnie Wahlberg's performance here is incredible. It
Yeah.
literally lingers over the entire film, and it's a performance that's only one scene that you still remember long after the film as well.
Totally, yeah. He just bleeds this emotion into this camera that whatever Dr. Crowe was supposed to have done with him in their sessions hasn't worked.
Right.
And Vincent Gray, Donnie Wahlberg's character, is just absolutely broken. He doesn't want to be afraid anymore. And he pulls out a gun and he shoots Dr. Crowe, and then he shoots himself off camera.
Yeah.
And I've got to give it to M. Night's kind of camera eye right from the start. Like, I didn't realize this was kind of his third release of a film.
Yeah.
He'd already done Praying with Anger, which he'd starred in and directed in himself, and then a second film after that. But then he's come to this, and so like you said, with that camera, that with the shadow that cuts across in the background,
Yeah.
and the way Donnie Wahlberg kind of stands in the bathroom, it's already got this weird, supernatural, ominous feeling right from the start. So then when you have the sudden gun blasts, and then it cuts to the next fall, it says.
It does,
doesn't
yeah, a whole year later.
A whole
Yeah.
year later.
And Malcolm is sat outside, and he's got his documents, and he's got this file on this new kid that he's going to be working on, Cole Sear, and then he goes to meet him while Cole's on his way to school, and just like, okay, so this is the trajectory of the film. Now we are going to understand that Cole is having issues either at home or at school or somehow, but the mother has clearly come to see Malcolm to get some professional help with her son.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see you again, right?
If that's okay with you.
And we start to uncover that Cole can see ghosts. It's not like it's a slow... Well, it kind of is like a slow reveal, but just enough that, like, we get introduced to when he's in the classroom at the school, and he's talking to his teacher, but he something off screen or off camera is saying something to Cole, and Cole is repeating it to the teacher. That Stuttering Stanley sequence
It's great.
It's just overwhelming because Cole's character is very quiet, very,
Reserved.
reserved. Yeah. So when he starts having these outbursts, the way he gets angry, it's like something's overtaken him, something's possessed him.
That's right, and that's what the mum's kind of getting worried. She is definitely at her wit's end with him. So,
Yeah.
like you said, with the mum with the Exorcist, like, we'll take him to see a doctor, we'll take him to see a child psychologist.
Yeah.
We'll just try to talk to him and reason with him.
That kitchen sequence where she's gone into the kitchen, the mum, Toni Collette, and
Yeah.
she's closing drawers and she's closing cupboards, and she gets her son to sit down. She says, "What do you want for breakfast?" And she goes out of the room. The camera follows her right out of the room, and then when she comes back in, it's like Poltergeist.
Exactly.
All the
All the
cupboard
cupboards
doors
are
are
open.
open, the drawers have been pulled open.
And she's just like, couldn't find what you were looking for. But then there's that moment where he does leave the table and he leaves a palm print on the table and she notices it. So it's like, he didn't get up.
No.
He was there the whole time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's literally, I think, at like the 50-minute mark of the film that has the big reveal that I see dead people.
Yeah.
So the whole kind of lingering supernatural threat or element of the film is very slowly built up into the film. And I think the major reveal point for that is when Cole is invited to another kid's birthday party.
Oh, God, yeah.
And we see Beep Beep Richie, the balloon floats up, just like, and of course I just want to go back as well, if you're paying attention to the film. I mean, it's kind of obvious, it's very much in your face, but there's a lot of things in this film that are in your face and obvious, but because you're along for the ride and with the characters, you might not notice them, even though they're blatant.
Yeah.
And the color red is so prominent in this film that whenever something supernatural or ominous is about to occur, the color red is featured prominently either in the clothing or in the prop or in a balloon.
Yeah.
And of course, we're also hearing the voices. We're hearing a voice yelling to be let out of this like attic cupboard space.
Yeah.
Even though the door to it is already open.
It's already open, yeah.
But these two little shitheads come up behind Cole and they're like, we're going to play a game. We're going to put on a play. And you get to be the one that gets locked in this cupboard.
Oh, God, it's terrifying, yeah. I love the fact, the way that Toni the Collette then comes up the stairs looking for her son, and she's banging on the door. She's wanting to open. You know, you can hear Cole on the other side screaming for his life because, you know, by this point you should have realized that he can see things that we're not seeing. So whatever he's seeing in that attic space, you know, I watched Ghost with Patrick Swayze before, you know, long before I'd watched this. So when I'm sitting down to watch this, I'm like, Jesus Christ, these ghosts can do anything. They can touch this boy. They can scream at him. I love the moment where he goes to the toilet at night in his apartment.
That's right.
And when he comes back, this boy walks past, and the boy's just like, "Hey, do you want to see my daddy's gun?" And then when the boy's head turned, there's just a hole in the back of his head. So M. Night Shyamalan is just nailing all of these kind of supernatural ghost elements that you should have in any spooky film.
Yeah.
Haley Joel Osment is hitting all of his major marks as well as this little boy who's being traumatized.
Yeah, he's selling
by
the
these
fear
things.
so incredibly well.
Yeah, and then backing up with that, you've got the Bruce Willis character, Malcolm Crowe. Now, he's going through some emotional problems at home with his wife, and the film kind of feeds it to you that since the attack in his home, he's been separate from his wife.
Yeah, like
they're living together, but they're not interacting.
He's
like
recovered physically, but the marriage has just not recovered. It's not been the same. Now it seems like he's jumped headfirst into his work, and that's consumed him, and so he's not put the time in at home.
Well, I love the fact that the award that he got at the beginning was celebrating all of his hard work that he did with all these children. And so then the Vincent Gray incident is like a smear on him.
Yeah.
You know, he needs that redemption. And so that's where Cole has come in. If he can redeem Cole and fix him and take care of him, then he can redeem himself with Vincent and everything will be okay. He'll get his wife back.
Yeah. And they have some really wonderful scenes together. I love the scene in the church.
Yeah.
And that's where Cole is talking in Latin. And Malcolm's just like, what? And eventually he goes home and he gets his Latin translation book out and he's like, God damn, kid was speaking Latin.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of enjoy... I mean, as an audience, you kind of enjoy his investigation as to what's going on. And I love the sequence where Cole comes in from school, opens the door.
The questions.
And the two of them are sat there, the mum and Malcolm. And you just... But they're not talking to each other.
No.
And and it is that moment where he's like, I'm going to play a game. I can read your mind and I'm going to ask you some questions. And if I speak the correct, if what I say is correct, walk forward. And if what I'm saying is incorrect, step backwards. And he gets halfway there.
Yeah.
And then Malcolm starts to get it all wrong. And he starts backpedaling again. But again, we get a nice little bit of information about Cole's, father and mother and the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he's also lets Malcolm know that he has got a secret, but he's not going to share it right now.
Yeah. I did love, like halfway through the film, I did love the fact that the film's focus stays solely on Cole and Malcolm, and it kind of lets you into these other things that are going on, but you don't get too much information, but you don't need it. Like, you get the So like I said, the ghost with the hole in the back of his head, like Cole won't go into the investigation and find out when this kid killed himself or what happened and stuff. Same with the ghost in the kitchen who keeps opening all the cupboards. You realise that these ghosts just kind of stay in these places. You know, he talks about the people that hung themselves at the school.
Yeah.
I love that sequence where he's walking and Haley Joel Osment just looks at the floor and he's just like, I'm trying not to look.
Right.
Because the three of them are just hanging there, just kind of staring down at him. But he starts to come to the realization, Cole does, that he's supposed to help them. If he helps the ghosts, they might move on. So then that might actually help him sleep better or deal with situations better.
That conversation comes at that, you know, after that moment where Cole's been taken to the hospital after the kid's birthday. And we get that moment where, you know, we've got M. Night, yes, the doctor.
Yeah.
Apparently M. Night Shyamalan hated his role in the film so much that he cut most of his scenes out, so it's very edited down. But he's the one who's questioning the mother, like, we're going to have to call in another child psychologist because we found bruises and scratch marks on your boy. So we need to investigate this. And of course the mum's just like, we know it's not her, but she's now looking suspect, and so she has to go through all of that emotional trauma. She doesn't know how to help our boy because this obviously is a misdirection, really, because she knows it's not going to help either. And at the same time, Malcolm's just sat there going, whatever. Like, but I do like the scene where then Malcolm goes in to see Cole in the hospital bed. And that's where we get the, you know, the big moment, the big reveal. I see dead people. I see them all the time. They don't even know that they're dead. And I mean, the camera does an interesting thing here.
It does. It
just zooms it on Bruce Willis on Malcolm's face. It's like, I see dead people. They don't even know they're dead. Like, we need the big red arrows, like, pointing.
Well,
but I mean, that's how the producer of the film felt. And he was like, look, we should not be cutting to the twist. Like, in the moment of this reveal, it's just too on the nose. But then test audiences and test screenings, nobody noticed at all.
That's the thing. That's what I think is really great about that shot as well, is that if you're going in without knowing the twist, even the zoom in with Bruce Willis, he sells it to go, oh, I'm in shock that this boy can see ghosts.
Right. Yeah. So you're with him on that journey.
Because everything that we've seen with Dr. Malcolm, with Bruce Willis' character, would tell us that he's alive and well, shall we say. You know, he is dealing with the instance with his wife. His wife is supposedly having an affair. He's trying to deal with the Cole situation.
It's that great moment where he ends up smashing the window. Like the window pane on her. Is that a jewelry store?
I think she works at a jewelry store. That scene I absolutely loved as well, where his wife is trying to sell this ring to this happy couple, and the husband, the boyfriend, doesn't want to spend too much money. But it was this one close-up sequence of them in this little cabinet looking at this ring. This whole sequence of levity, you know, happiness with everything that I've seen ghosts hanging and holes in the back of their head, and you know, I see dead people.
The poisoned girl.
Yeah, the fucking Misha Barton playing Kyra, the poison girl. You know, I've had all that, and now I've got this moment of happiness, like life is still going on. But yeah, Cole comes across Misha Barton, Kyra Collins. She's spitting out poison.
I've got to say, I think it's the most, you know, I guess it's a horror movie. It's the most terrifying sequence in the film because we've had the temperature getting cold. We've had him hiding in his makeshift red church. You know, and it's the moment where all the pegs start to come loose. And then the reveal of the girl sat there and then she's vomiting this porridge. It's pretty terrifying, actually. And even though I'd say this is like a gateway horror movie for younger people, for sure.
Totally, definitely.
It's a very, very well put together sequence. And it's the fact that Cole goes running out of there and all the tent kind of collapses, but leaves her there, the shape of her underneath the tent. But he
so well done.
Builds up the courage to go back, and he pulls the thing off and talks to her, and she's like, I feel better now. And then it cuts to that girl's funeral.
The funeral at the home. And I was very surprised by this because obviously with what you will later understand of how the sequence plays out, Cole has gone there all by himself. Absolutely just gone to this house with this address, makes his way into the house, mingles among the guests a little bit, and then he heads up to the bedroom without even being noticed. And then in the bedroom, I mean, it's kind of a nice little jump scare. I seen this film like 100 times, and when that arm shoots out and grabs him,
bed.
It's well sketchy. And she pushes this box forward, and Cole takes the box downstairs to the dad. Now, this is probably the most terrifying thing about the whole movie, The Sixth Sense. With everything that you might have known or heard or rumored, you know, and the popular references that are thrown out in your face, the fact that the dad is given a videotape of his wife poisoning his own daughter, so that, like, it, and that's what I was saying earlier, is that the film doesn't even really go into detail about this situation. Cole just fixes it, or
well, he gives the girl spirit rest now, because the crime, the murder, is now out there in the open.
We don't know why the mum has been doing this. We know that we hear from little snippets of conversation that the mum is doing it now to the youngest daughter.
That's right, yeah.
Like, for a second, like I said, I've seen this movie 100 times. I have to keep reminding myself, this is their actual mum. It's not their stepmom.
Right, yeah.
You know, she's
the horrors of the world. But I mean, it's not... You know, it's that story's not important to this story, but it's, you know, that moment is. But all the details are not. But again, the motif is there. The mum was wearing red dress. The VHS box that gets passed was in a red ribbon.
But it's the way that, like I said, M. Night Shyamalan had edited and filmed a sequence where the daughter kind of knows her mum's up to something, so she sets the camera up.
No, I don't think that was an accident. I don't think she did it to frame her mum. She didn't know until she had died.
Well, somebody's put that camera there, because
she was recording her own puppet show.
She's recording her own puppet show, and
but then the camera was, but then she ran, didn't she, to get into bed?
Yeah, the mum comes in, the mum pours the poison into the bed, and she even makes that statement to her saying, "Oh, like, no, you can't go out after lunch because you know how sick you get." So this has happened a number of times.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and then obviously the girl's taking the tape out and she's hidden it giving it to her dad. And then Cole just kind of walks out.
Job done. Yeah.
Job done, you know. Objective complete.
Yeah.
Is Kara coming back? Not anymore.
But this builds up as well to the reveal that Cole is now ready to tell his mum.
Yeah.
You know, he's told his secret to Dr. Malcolm, and now he's ready to tell his mum the secret.
And Dr. Malcolm was there with him in the house to help him, like, see this spirit on as well.
Yeah. And so we have this beautiful moment where I think it was used a lot of times in the like trailers and things to promote the movie, where Cole is sat there in the car and he says to his mum, like, "I can see what's happened to this woman. She's died. How do you know?" "Oh, she's standing next to my window." And you see the ghost there, the blood on the face.
The cyclist, yeah.
Yeah, quite good special effects, really. And he breaks down what's been going on to Toni Collette. He says to her, like, you know, I see your mum. You know, I see Gran. She says, "I'm really sorry about moving this brooch."
This bumblebee pendant, isn't it?
Yeah. But that we'd heard about earlier that just keeps moving, ends up in Cole's room. And he explains to her that his mum had said something at his Gran's grave and wanted to know what it was. And it's just so beautifully filmed and edited. Toni Collette is just a ball of emotions. Like, how does my son know this information? How does he... what is he talking about? I don't believe it, but she kind of does believe it because it does make sense with everything that she's been dealing with throughout the movie. I love that moment where she's pressing the pictures.
Yeah.
And she can see all the light. Oh, man.
It's great. And at the same time, Malcolm has gone home, and we had that wonderful scene again with Cole in the church where they were like, Cole was just like, "I'm not going to see you tomorrow, am I?"
No.
And because he knows that he's a ghost and he's going to move on now. But Malcolm still doesn't quite know that yet until he does go home with the idea to talk to his wife while she's asleep. And that's when, you know, his realization fully kicks in, where we get the flashback to the bullet wound where he's checking his back and he realized that, there was blood and he didn't make it. But it's the way that he just gently talks to her, and she talks back, like, in her sleep.
Yeah.
So they do get to have some closure.
Yeah.
And it's when she drops the wedding ring and it rolls, and he picks it up and realizes he's not had it on this whole time. And of course, when they were filming, they tried to make sure that you never saw the ring on his hand ever. And it's a beautiful moment. It really is, like, if this moment doesn't get you, then Toni Collette in the car at the ending, and her emotion, that will get you. And like I have no qualms in saying I was weeping at the end of this movie, despite seeing this film 25 years ago. And despite seeing it a couple of times since, like the performances and the emotional weight behind it, it comes through so well. And so it is a happy ending, like having Malcolm have closure with his wife, because now he's not haunting her anymore. And she is trying to get a life back together for herself, and she's now free to do that. And at the same time, Cole and his mother, that relationship is now going to heal now that they're not keeping secrets from anymore, and the evidence or the proof has kind of happened. So it is kind of really quite sweet.
It's really nicely self-contained, when the movie ends, when Dr. Malcolm kind of breathes his last, you're happy. You kind of want to know more about what, let's make a Sixth Sense 2 and whatnot. Let's see him use his magical powers to talk to more ghosts and whatnot. But everything's just really self-contained, from that opening shot with Donnie Wahlberg shooting to the ending shot, realizing that Dr. Malcolm has died. Your mind goes rushing back for all the moments of the film. Like we said, he wasn't talking to Toni Collette when he was sat there in the front room.
That's right.
How did he walk into his flat every time we saw him walk up to the front doors?
We never see him open doors.
We never see him open doors.
When he goes to the restaurant for his anniversary with his wife, when he comes in, he doesn't move the chair, he just sits in the chair.
Sits in it,
When he goes to pay for it, it gets taken just in front of him. So at least the film's giving you the illusion that, he can.
Yeah.
Because also at the point where he's at his wife's jewellery, when he does break the window, so he can interact with the world.
Can
but again, it's
like
Ghost, where you got to have an emotional weight behind it. You got to really feel it to be able to touch or interact with the world. But that's it. But that's it. That's all the Easter eggs and the nods and the clues and the hints throughout the entire film as to what's going on. But I also just love the mythology of the ghosts, where because Malcolm is a ghost, has the entire film, but we never see, he doesn't make anybody cold around him. And that's because he's not angry. He's not... And so I love that the other ghosts, when they are getting emotional, when they are getting angry or tense or ready to haunt, that's when the temperature drops. So, but he, I guess he's not angry at the end, because we do see Anna's breath, but he is at a heightened emotional state, which is dropping the temperature in the room. So and also, a few people have criticised the fact that Malcolm changes his clothing throughout the entire film.
No.
But because all the ghosts are in the clothing that they were when they died in, I guess Malcolm does have some flexibility, because in the one sequence at the beginning of the film, he does have that suit, he does have that jacket. His wife throws that sweater at him because it's cold. So there's lots of... I think they still adhere to their own rules.
I was going to say, I don't think I noticed anything on Dr. Malcolm throughout the film that I didn't... Like I said, seeing this movie like 10 times, you're always looking for things to catch it out. But they worked it so well that, like you said, he's either wearing that sweat top, or he's just wearing his shirt, or he's wearing his suit jacket over there, and then he's got his big coat to go over that.
So we never see the bloodstains behind him.
We never see the back of him really clearly at any point until that ending reveal where he's got everything off and then he puts his hand there. But just the little bits. Like I said, I was watching out for all the bits of red.
Yeah. It's a very red movie.
And it's trying to see what kind of that symbolizes throughout the film. Just all the little things in the background. And there was a couple of times when they went into the church, and I'm like, how many people are in here are ghosts?
Right.
We're just seeing this from Cole's perspective.
I also like that the other ghosts can't see the other ghosts. That was another little bit of lore that I liked.
Yeah.
Well, Iain, what were your favourite scenes from The Sixth Sense?
Oh man, I could really list them for forever, but I think I'm just going to steal what I think is absolutely the best one, and it's the sequence in the car with Toni Collette and Cole. You expect this film to be scary and terrifying, and it kind of is in certain places, and it's considered a horror, but I consider it more of a psychological, supernatural film. So when you've just got Haley Joel Osment selling this character as best as he can, with all the emotion in his face, delivering this secret to his mum, who you've followed throughout the movie, and you think the mum is obviously going to break down because she's under so much pressure of being a single mum and all that. the grandmother conversation. What do you say? Well, what was it that you said to her? Does she make me proud every day? Oh my God. Niagara Falls.
Oh.
Absolute Niagara Falls. Because you just, after everything in the movie, you're just happy that this little boy's got a happy ending with his mum.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I think it's the best sequence.
I'm going to second that. I do think it is an absolutely pivotal moment in the film. It's the final scene of the film, and getting that resolution is great. And it's Toni Collette's performance. She steals this scene, but Haley Joel Osment has been great the entire film, but Toni Collette really dials it up here.
Yeah.
But I also think that comes off the back of the earlier dinner table sequence where they both sat there and the camera's at the side. And it's the whole, Cole, where is my mother's bumblebee pendant?
Yes.
You've taken it. Are you ready to tell me the truth now? And he's like, I didn't take it. And then they have that argument.
Yeah.
And then there's that moment where, Toni Collette's in the house and Cole comes up to her and he's like, Mum, if you're not too angry with me, can I stay in your bed tonight?
Yeah, because he doesn't want to sleep on his own. Yeah.
It's just a really wholesome, good family moment.
Yeah,
and
man.
the two actors, so good. Now, interestingly, Haley Joel Osment, the reason why he secured his role in the film is that in preparation, the day before, he read through the script 3 times, not just his part, but the entire script.
Wow.
And he really understood the character and where it was coming from. And Haley's dad helped him out there. And so, but I think he was just absolute natural in this.
Yeah.
Like, really, really good.
I think
so sweet.
I think they tried to capture the same thing with Unbreakable with Bruce Willis and the son character in that. They just couldn't recapture the same lightning in the bottle that Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment had together in this.
Yeah. But I've got some other favourite scenes as well. The Donnie Wahlberg sequence at the beginning, that opening sequence was so strong, and he gave a really great performance. The kitchen poltergeist doors being open, you're like, okay, this is a bit fun. The mind-reading game, that's taking the steps forward and taking the steps back.
Yeah.
Love that moment. The stuttering Stanley scene in the school where he breaks him, and you're just like, okay, there's something, because if you're first time watching the film, you don't really know what's quite going on. You're like, is it in his mind? Is there some kind of abuse going on? Obviously, we know it's the Sixth Sense. There's going to be ghosts or something, but we don't quite know. So it's a great moment, and when he does start to stutter as well, it's like, oh, he was right.
Yeah.
The secret reveal, it's the most parodied moment in the film. I see dead people. Again, his delivery was so good, and Bruce Willis's reaction sells it so good. I mentioned it earlier, the bumblebee pendant sequence, the dad's gun sequence. Just Toni Collette just being really, really good, and the do I make her proud moment? And just thinking about it, I'm getting choked up. So Ian, tell me if you'd recommend Sixth Sense.
I totally recommend Sixth Sense. I think it's pinnacle filmmaking through the decades. This movie for me immediately goes up there with films like Psycho and Blair Witch Project. For like those 3 movies, I think are just, like you said, on your top 10 movies to see before you die, at least in your top 50s. Sixth Sense has just everything that worked. It like Gary said, it was a miracle that they managed to get all these elements into this movie and then make such a groundbreaking blockbuster movie that sent the director onto just a massive, huge orbital trajectory of just trying to replicate and make all these, twists, supernatural, great movies after. He may not have hit the marks he has, but at least you could name 5 M. Night Shyamalan movies on your hand that you go, that's good, that good, that good, that's good, that good. And one of them has got to be The Sixth Sense. Bruce Willis is absolutely astounding because he's got hair. He's kicking ass in that movie. Haley Joel Osment, oh my God, if you don't watch Sixth Sense, you got to fucking watch Bogus, for God's sake. And Toni Collette, mwah, yes.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm also going to be recommending The Sixth Sense. This is a great horror drama with great performances, characters, memorable lines, and twists. It's been 25 years since its release, and it remains in pop culture after dominating the film rental space in 2000. Watched and rewatched to find all the hidden clues, and parodied to the point that everybody knows the twist ending. But even after all that, this is still a great film to go back and revisit. Bruce Willis is a megastar. He was brilliant here as Malcolm, along with Haley Joel Osment as Cole, and their screen relationship and friendship is the real emotional core of the film, backed with a fantastic performance from Toni Collette. Very emotionally charged, believable, yet Toni grounds the reality very well. She was a real highlight here. The horror moments are fairly tame, though there are a few exceptions and some good haunting scenes which are fairly chilling. And the music by James Newton Howard was seamlessly interwoven. It was moody and it was immersive, and the story was easy to follow, and it has a good pace. It's very well constructed with well-written characters, and that twist reveal hits that emotional peak even if you know what's coming. It's a great film, arguably M. Night Shyamalan's best film, and it's absolutely worth a watch and a rewatch. Or you might see dead people. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
You sleep now. Everything will be different in the morning.